I guess we'll start on this before we jump into where we were headed. But yeah, we all react to things, or we interact to things. From the moment of choice, and I put this on here because this is where we're gonna jump right back in again. And Larry, I'm sure you've been looking at things from a spiritual sense if you've done any investigation. The Garden of Eden was a metaphor to represent the options available to us. One is to experience unconditional love, or God, which is represented by the tree of life, right? Talked about in the Bible, the tree of life. Now, the other tree that's talked about in the Bible is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If we read the Bible, it's the only thing they talk about. There's two trees here. One is life, one is the knowledge of good and evil, which also, God said, if you choose this path, you're going to die. So I like to call this one the tree of death. We have the tree of life, we have the tree of death. Well, the tree of death actually is representing the experience of looking at things through a judgmental mind. Simple. So we've lost our ability to witness and interact on a conscious level. That's life. The opposite of that is death. Well, according to our story in the Bible, Adam and Eve had children, Cain and Abel, right after they died. Right? They died, then they had children. And so then the children were born into the death experience. And the children then, one brother kills the other brother. Well, that's pretty much the way of the world. All of the human emotions come into play. And those human emotions are not usually based on love, but they're rather based on fear. Fear, which comprises anger, jealousy, all of the other emotions, all of those things, all the negative side of self stem from a judgmental mind. Now, the Bible also talks about this being a dream. Which is great. It's beautiful. It's good as a dream. It's beautiful as a dream because we can wake up. That's the beauty. If it wasn't a dream, that's all, oh shit, don't tell me this is real. I'm stuck in this? No, but it's not real. This is why the Course in Miracles, and have you looked at the Course in Miracles at all? Heard of the Course in Miracles says, that which is real cannot be threatened. That which is unreal does not exist. Therein lies the peace of God. Okay, that which is not real is this. That which is real, life, love, unconditional love.
Marvelous, thank you.
Unconditional love cannot be threatened. God can't be threatened. Except by Doug.
That's it.
Doug's the
Suck
only,
it in, God. Yeah.
Doug's the only one that can put God in his place.
Got that right.
But anyway, unconditional love can't be threatened. So that's why the Course says, that which is real cannot be threatened. Unconditional love, God can't be threatened. Life, I'm going to put it up here. Life cannot be threatened. As spirit, no one can touch spirit. That's what the crucifixion was to represent, that most of the time Christians have missed. Jesus came into the world, took on a body, talked a little bit, then let him take the body. They took the body, then he comes back, and he said, you didn't touch me, I'm still alive. Spirit can't be killed. Life is eternal. So as spiritual beings, we are infinite beings. And so any thought that doesn't accept that you're an infinite being is part of a dream. That which is unreal doesn't exist. Therein lies the peace of God. So this is why the Course in Miracles, to me, I say, if you just understood just that introductory statement, that which is real cannot be threatened, that which is unreal doesn't exist, you don't need the rest of the book. You can close it all and go home and you're done. Because now you recognize life is eternal, you're eternal, everyone's eternal, and everything in the world that we're witnessing to a judgmental mind is based on a dream and it's unreal. That's hard for us to accept with a human mind, that it's unreal. Really is difficult, but it's true. When you finally come to the realization that it's not real, and you let go of your attachments to it in form of judgment, you will have the experience of what the Course would call the atonement. The atonement is the awakening, basically. That's what the atonement is. And later, once we finish this book, we're going to touch a little bit about the Course. We'll get into the section for the teachers. I don't want to do the whole Course. I don't want to start at the beginning. I think by the time we're done with this book, everybody that's been coming will really be ready for the section for the teachers, and we won't have to go to the beginning. You know, I really don't think we will have to. But who knows where we'll wind up? I never know. You know, I thought would be, let's see, we're on page 38. We've only done 16 weeks. so who knows where we'll be? I don't know. But, oh, well, wait a minute for Doug to get back here.
Did you see on, I saw it on the internet, the UFO photo?
I didn't see, well, I mean, there's so much stuff on the UFOs.
It's the recent one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, from the city over in California. I can't remember which city. And they're saying, is it real or a hoax?
Was it
Sure.
good picture?
Yeah, yeah.
Does it look like saucer?
No, I mean, you know, it's on the AOL homepage is where I saw it. And the article below it was saying how these professionals looked at it and said there's no, you know, this is too intricate to be hoax. So I don't know.
Someday they'll have conclusive proof, and then, you know, put it to rest finally.
What if they have all that at Roswell?
They have every, I mean,
Museums and everything Roswell.
the idea is, I mean, if you really wanted to go and search out and find for yourself evidence that you felt comfortable with, there's adequate evidence around to satisfy almost anyone who really spends enough time investigating.
Yeah.
But again, if you look at life as being based in consciousness, if you look at God as formless consciousness, expressing itself in terms of form, I mean, just look at our world. Look at the ants. Look at the grasshopper. Look at a tree. Look at a bacteria. Look at a virus. There's life everywhere. I mean, what is not part of God? Did anything originate and spring out and form its own consciousness out of nothing?
No.
You know, everything is interconnected. So what's the big deal that there's extraterrestrial life? I mean, come on, you know, it's no big deal. And that's why I never really wanted to spend that much time focusing on UFOs or extraterrestrial life. Of course there's life out there. But the main thing is that we start to look at the true spirit within. And then everything else becomes clear. The moment you focus in on one little detail and get hung up on a detail, you'll never see the bigger picture. That forest for the trees thing, you know, the moment we focus in on that one little tree, you'll never see the forest. You got to keep stepping back, stepping back, stepping back, and then all of a sudden you get the clearer picture. But yes, it all has to, everything has to be taken in as part of the whole. Whether it's people in this world, this is one of the reasons why the Course talks about this. Talks about when you accept the atonement for yourself. In other words, you're recognizing your true spiritual nature over your human self. You have to allow everyone in the world, everyone, to be totally innocent, or else you haven't accepted the atonement. Why? Because if there's one person that you're not including in this, and you're holding, like for example, some people might look at Hitler and say, well, I could accept everyone as perfect except for Hitler. Look at how could Hitler do what he did, and so on and so on. The moment you hold one out, you're still in a judgmental mode.
Yeah.
Right? It's not inclusive. Now, the moment it's not including everyone, you're not there. So you haven't had the experience. It's all or nothing. If that's what one of the things that the Bible talks about. The Bible says this. I think it's in James somewhere. It says, if you follow the letter of the law 99%, but you miss one point, you're guilty of the whole. That's what it says. And that's exactly what we're just talking about. It's an all or nothing deal. It's not like you can be almost awakened. Well, you're awake or you're asleep. You know, that's why the Course says there is either love or fear. Now, I will grant you that in the fear side, we have degrees. There's degrees of fear. There are degrees of a dream within the side. But ultimately, there is the dream or there's reality. You know, if you want to dream about this or you want to dream about that, or whatever you want to dream about doesn't matter. If you're dreaming, you're dreaming. If you're awake, you're awake. Two different experiences. One is life, one is death. With that being said, we're going to jump right back in. Before we jump to the next page, I'm just going to review one thing from page 37, because it just ties all this together. And this was Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters, for he either will hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. This is exactly what we're talking about. If you're awake, if you're one with God consciously, then this is immaterial. The world is going on, things are happening, people are doing whatever they're doing, but you're not concerned with it. You're not sucked into it. You're not bothered by it. Or you are on this side and you're not seeing that side. You've got two masters to serve here. Just like the brain this woman was talking about. One is the human ego side, where we have linear thinking. The other is the spiritual, where you're beyond linear and you're one with the whole, and the whole is open to you. Now, we haven't spent much time in human form on the what we would call metaphysical side, where our consciousness is awakened and we are consciously cognizant of that oneness. Most people aren't there, except for Doug. No.
He's in the zone.
He's in the zone, yeah. But anyway.
What you get for being a snowbird, we pick on you.
See? What's that?
That's what you get for being a snowbird, we pick on you.
Sure. I'm not picking on Doug. No, that was a compliment, see?
Yeah. He started whistling.
See? Yeah. Anyway, Jesus now, we're going to get into the section where Jesus was talking about unconditional love, and the unconditional love, I think we all realize at this point, is on this side. This is love, this is life, this is reality, this is what Christ really came here to teach us. And so Jesus spoke of unconditional love. The love that Jesus spoke of, and the love that most people understand in this world, are worlds apart. In this world, the love that the majority of people feel is ego-based and self-serving. It's all based on positional thinking. They say everything is relative. Well, for every individual, using that ego-based thinking mind, every experience you have, every interaction you have is relative to you. It's unique. Each one of us is unique. And it's self-serving. As long as we're using the ego mind, it's going to be self-serving. In fact, it is this conditional love that causes all of the pain and suffering in this world. For all of us, the pain and suffering we feel is always directly related to something we're holding on to, a perception, an interpretation of something. Something happens in the world around us, and we feel affected by it, and we're going to be affected by it to the exact degree that we're hanging on to it and giving it a meaning. Okay? Love is not really in play. Fear is. Okay? If we're looking at something and we're feeling out of sorts, whatever the experience is, I'm feeling out of sorts. Why? It doesn't fit my picture in the moment. I have a preconceived concept, a notion of what this moment should represent, as opposed to what my mind, my ego, my perception is telling me it's representing. This is not the picture I planned. Holy shit, what am I doing here? I don't want this, right?
I hear you.
Yeah. You ever feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably almost everyone at some time or another has a moment. We all have these moments. Right? Knowing this, Jesus mentioned the need to raise the level of understanding of how we love. Everyone and everything must be seen in the same light. Not doing this adds more darkness and thickens the veil and keeps true understanding from us. This is why he said that, and I'm going to get into Luke here. But do you see how many times we talk in here, the now? Now always is. This very moment. Now always is. Whoop. Minute just changed. Now it still always is. Tomorrow, now will always be. Next week, last year. Doesn't matter. Wherever you are in time, now always is. In this now moment, we can affect how we experience. I can't change the world around me. I can't go like this. Peace on earth. Did you feel it? I just made. No, I can't do that. There is something outside of me that is a controlling influence in the world. That's what that woman was talking about in that thing, where she recognized that she was not really in charge. She was an observer. She can make choices. But there are degrees to the level that you can affect change around you. There is a greater consciousness. Now, the Hindus would call that Krishna. Krishna is going to affect change. Christians would talk about the Holy Spirit. The Indians would talk about the Great Spirit. Whatever. There is a universal consciousness that is at play and is orchestrating events and helping us, helping every one of us, by giving us opportunities to reawaken from the dream. Awaken. Or accept the atonement, for those that are familiar with the Course in Miracles. That's what we're doing in this world. This is what life really is about. Life is about having opportunity after infinite opportunities. They just keep coming. You know, I mean, as much as you think you're finished, boom, something else comes along. And then it just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming, giving you a chance to declare who you are. Who are you? Am I going to live my life in fear? Or am I going to awaken to a higher reality? What's my treasure? Once you define what your treasure is, then you're going to find out who your master is.
Thank you.
So here's where Christ was really laying it down and separating those that are just talking and those that are actually ready to implement the change. He says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own mother, now I don't know if hate was the exact word that was used, probably not.
I think we're having trouble with
the word hate, because what happens is the word has been it's been translated from one language to another to another. But let's look at it this way. Let's put it this way. If anyone comes to me and does not recognize his mother and father and children and brothers and sisters and his own life, I'm going to add this, as spiritual kin, he cannot be my disciple. Now, the way it was translated, I'm going to read the way it was translated and the way it appears in the Bible. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own mother and father and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whosoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So what he's really saying is this: if you can't take that special relationship that we all have for our mothers, our fathers, our kinship, our children, if we can't take that relationship and recognize that that person out there is just as valuable in the eyes of God and is also your spiritual brother and sister, then you can't really follow Christ. That's what he's saying. You want to follow me? Then you have to elevate these relationships. You have to say, wait a minute, my son is not... I like the prophet Gibran. Gibran wrote something, our children are not our children. They come through us, but not from us.
Yeah.
Right? They come through us, but not from us. God owns that child. I don't own. It's not my child, that's God's child. I have stewardship. Same as I have stewardship over this right now. But I don't own that child. That child's not mine. No different than that child out there is not mine. It's God's child. Now, how does God want me to take care of that child? Doesn't want me to abandon the child. That would be pretty stupid. This is God's child. I'm going to just throw it out with the garbage. No. God doesn't want me to abandon. But God doesn't want me to elevate that child and leave that child down here. It's kind of like Einstein talking about patriotism when he said patriotism is the measles of humanity. Because now I'm an American. Look at me.
Yeah.
You peon down there. Yeah, you guys don't count. We count. We're special. And let's close these damn borders so none of these filthy animals can get into our beautiful country.
Damn right.
They don't belong here. This is my God-given right. I was born here.
Damn right.
These sons, they're trying to come in and take my job away. They don't belong here. I heard this when I was a kid. Oh, these damn Mexicans, they're coming in, they're taking the jobs away from us Americans. And they don't belong here. This is our country. Wait a minute. See, we shouldn't have borders. This is God's creation. This is God's world. The whole idea of ownership is not really a very elevated spiritual way of seeing things. But anyway, we do it. We all have a tendency to do this. We all think that our children, our family, our stuff is special. I don't know. For which of you, now he's talking about being his disciple, and what we have to do, what we have to move ourselves to be his disciple, would be to elevate everyone. It's very hard to do, of course. But he says, for which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? So before you decide to really follow Christ, you should probably sit down and give account as to what's involved here. What does it mean? Can you do it? I think we could. Most people choose not to, but we could. Otherwise, when he has laid the foundation, is not able to finish, all who see, all begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or, what king going to encounter another king in war will not first sit down and take counsel, whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, whether the other is yet a great way off, he sends an embassy and asks the terms of peace. In other words, when you're looking at this, you have to decide, is it worth it? Can you do it? If so, you go for it. If not, hey, don't bother starting. Don't start unless you figure you're going to do it. That's kind of what he's saying here. So therefore, whosoever of you does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. So Christ was pretty specific about what it takes to move from the dream state to the awakened state. From the death experience back to life. What does it take? Oh, just renounce everything. That's all. Everything and everyone. Renounce everything and everyone. Now again, like I said, looking at this the way Christ really meant it, you don't abandon your children. You don't abandon your mother, your father, your husband, your wife. You don't abandon them, but you elevate everyone with them. You elevate the relationship, the meaning. You look at it from a spiritual view. If you can't do that, and what does that mean? That means that the meaning of every relationship has to change. That the meaning of what money means to you has to change. The meaning of your position, your job has to change. Everything has to change in order to experience this. Now, it doesn't mean everyone has to make that choice. You don't have to wake up. You want to go continue on forever asleep, you can. But if you want to follow Christ, he's being specific about what it takes. That's what it takes. Unlike human love, unconditional love cannot be limited or put into a box. Right? So,
Right.
if in fact we are to look at unconditional love as the treasure, as our objective, doesn't it make sense that we can't have special relationships?
Yeah.
How could you have a special relationship and have everyone on an equal playing field? Can't be done. Right? It's impossible. So that's why I say, if you choose it, then now you know, at least now you know what's involved.
You know, you're quoting there what Luke said, that Jesus said.
I'm quoting what Luke said, what Jesus said, but I'm also basing it upon what I know.
I know.
You right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But in some ways, you got to give Luke some credit. He did a pretty good job on it. I'm going to look this stuff up in a Bible series that I got. It was written from a direct translation from
Aramaic?
Aramaic, and it doesn't have any. You'd be surprised sometimes when you come to a verb or a noun and wahoo, there's nothing like what was written here.
Well, like hate. I'm sure the word hate was not
No,
the exact meaning.
Well,
No.
what happens is, like in Aramaic, that word that came off being interpreted as hate, probably had 28 versions of its use, depending on who you were talking to and what setting you're talking to, the subject you're talking of, and all that kind of thing. That word that we spell as hate doesn't mean hate every time. It just means a lot of different things. And that's one of the characteristics of Aramaic that confuses a lot of people when they translate it. You got to have some experience with that language so you can tell where the announcer of the word is where he's coming from when he says it. And it doesn't always come off as abrupt as what the...
No.
Yeah, see?
No. And I would have used different verbiage if I was not brought up as Christian and recognized that people have been exposed to this. This is the reason why I put it in the exact translation that they have it, because that's what they're used to hearing.
So you can say this as Bruce wrote it, and it's okay too. See? You perceive that, you know what this guy was talking about 40 years ago, and Australia's had a pretty good art for remembering exactly what someone said and memorizing it and passing along the exact memorized phrase. So, you know, generations later, it probably was not much shift in meaning. But anyhow, those guys, I think, you know, Luke, John, and Matthew, and all those guys gave it their best shot. Got trying to, and another guy, John, was another guy too, who was later, who had a different twist on the.
Thomas.
Thomas, there you go.
Thomas,
Yeah.
Thomas had a pretty good take on it.
He did, yeah.
Thomas, to me, Thomas, they found that in original Aramaic before it was translated. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why that's more precise and clearer.
Oh yes, it is, and it gives Jesus a different character. He's just a different kind of guy than what the other guys do. Well, then the church didn't want to use Thomas, and that came into being because it's not consistent with the party line, and that's a toughie for those guys. So, anyhow,
Well, yeah.
but so you can tell the story as Bruce tells it, and is legitimate as what Luke said.
Let me say this. I would tell you, based upon what I know today, experientially with a one-on-one with our Creator,
Yeah.
everything that's in this book is the way of creation. And I've explained what the Bible really was meant to say and the real meaning of what's there. I'm not a language expert by any means.
Yeah.
I never studied Aramaic. I never studied any of it. I really don't know that, but I do know this. This is what this was meant to say. This is what Jesus was here to teach.
Yeah, see, that's okay.
Okay, that's what I know to be fact.
Yeah.
Fact is this, and I have no problem with anyone saying to me, "Well, that's not true." Let's discuss it. If there's any point that doesn't make sense that you disagree with, let's have a talk about it. Let's discuss it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying this: God is love. God is the summation of all that is. We are part of that as spiritual beings, and our humanness is getting in the way of our experiencing it.
There you go.
Okay? That's fact.
And
And this is what Jesus really came here to teach man. That you are a spiritual being, and that being true, it means everybody has to be included in this. Not just you. You're not special. Except for Doug. No. But no, nobody's special, not even Doug. But the idea is, we must look at the ultimate reality, or you're going to see a perceived reality. That's it. It's A or B. Course in Miracles would talk about that. One is real, one is unreal. Now, you can believe this world is real. I would say it's a real experience, but it's not true in terms of ultimate reality. Ultimate reality does not change. God doesn't change. We change. Human beings change. Our minds are constantly changing. And the moment you see something, well, look at how, for many years, we thought the world was flat. No, we didn't, somebody did. They thought the world was flat, they're going to fall off. And they believed that. And the church taught that for many years. Don't you go, or else we're going to fall off.
Did anybody tell that guy that made the world wrong?
Galileo, they were going to kill Galileo just for saying, hey, I have proof that the world is round.
Yeah.
You better shut your mouth, otherwise this is the last thing you ever say. And he did, he shut up.
Yeah.
The church has been controlling people and controlling the minds and influencing the thoughts since, I don't know, from as long back as they have a history. Because they're about fear. Our government right now is pretty much about fear.
Fear-based.
Everything's fear-based. But that being said, each of you, and me, and everyone, we have a choice. You don't have to buy into what the world is buying into. You can live your reality. You can wake up. It can be done. I mean, This is what Christ came here to demonstrate. Christ came here to say, look, I'm here to help you overcome this world by living in the world and overcoming the world. Not by doing your work. I can't do your work. You got to do your own work. I'll show you how to do your work. And this is what we're talking about. That's what this is. This is about doing the work. It's about living and honoring and respecting every single thing on the face of the planet as part of God. And everyone is a part of God. It doesn't matter if they're awake or asleep. That's why Christ is being nailed to the cross. He's looking down, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They're innocent. Now, doesn't mean that they're not going to create some experience for themselves that's going to become very unpleasant. I'm not saying they're going to go to hell for all of eternity and burn, but they could experience something that would be considered hell. We can experience something that's considered hell. Many people are living in hell. Great many of the world is living in hell right here, right now. Now we're creating as we go along. We're creating out of our resistance to love.
It's scary to love.
It's scary to love.
To love unconditionally.
Yeah.
At your when it's presented to you as a concept the first time, and it comes off being scary. If you've experienced it, then you can tell that fear is moved. What's the guy's name who's he's hanging around up in the mountains in Afghanistan, hiding from the world?
Bin Laden?
Bin Laden.
Bin Laden. Yeah.
Okay, I just forget the name. But I had I don't know, a second, 1 second, 1.5 second experience where I was coming from the point of view, like from just unconditional love. And I imagined myself talking to, what's his face?
Bin Laden.
Bin Laden, and just coming up to him. And I remember that there was no sense of difference, no sense of fear of coming up to him to talk to him. Yeah, it was just a really neat experience that Shirley's telling actually. But it's there all the time, and you get this little snippet of feeling it once in a while, maybe, so that you still remember what it was and you can still feel it. But that's where, when you get past the first idea of this concept of unconditional love, you get beyond that and get to see humanity from this other point of view. Then it makes that what he's talking about makes a lot of sense, and it would make sense to you, or to you, So
It's also a big relief and burden that you don't have to go out and fix everything.
So what's that?
It's a relief that you don't have to go out and fix everything and fix
yeah,
everybody.
right.
Because if everybody's perfect, all part of God and unconditional love, well, let them be the way they are, and that's fine. And
That was right.
that's their thing, and I don't have to fix that.
Yeah. And
You don't even have to fix you. Isn't that interesting? Now this is the real
I had
challenge.
no sense that I had to convince him to change his act at all. That would be up to him to do it.
Don't even have to fix you. Are we supposed to work on ourselves?
That's the challenge. What you just defined is the real challenge facing everyone on the planet. The belief that we have to do something to fix ourselves is going to keep you from having the experience of that perfected state that you already are existing. We are already existing.
If you gotta fix
and
something that's broken.
It's broken.
In your mind.
In your
something's
mind,
broken.
you're still judging you.
You
Right?
think something's busted.
You think
Yeah.
something needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Nothing needs to be
If
fixed.
you do that, you're living duality.
You're living in duality and you're living in judgment.
Judging yourself.
If you're judging yourself. If you look at the world and you can accept that everyone is innocent, can you do that? Can everyone here accept that everyone is innocent?
Academically.
Okay. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take it a step further now. can you say, okay, I can pretty much believe that that's a reality? Can you believe that it's a reality? I'm not saying you're experiencing it in a moment. Let's just say, I can believe it's a reality. Everyone's innocent.
Every spirit is perfect.
Every spirit was created perfect and is still perfect beyond their own thoughts. Okay? Now, if you can take it to that level, take it one step further. Who amongst us is not included in that? All of us are included. So we're already there. See, this is what I keep going back to. You don't have to create your perfection. You have to accept your perfection.
Or remember it.
Remembering. It's a remembering. This is what Christ was talking about in terms of salvation. And I wrote something on my board. I know I've shared this in here a couple times. My board in my office years ago, I wrote, salvation is a gift that only requires acceptance.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Is it not true? It only requires acceptance. Done deal. Now, granted, we all have a human ego thinking mind. We all have belief systems. Those beliefs are going to get in the way of your accepting. I'll grant you that.
We see your definition of accept or salvation.
Salvation
Yeah.
is a gift that only requires acceptance.
Okay.
See, now let's go back to the now again. This is why I've spent a lot of time, and I keep going back to it over and over and over again. Now always is. You believe? How many believe in eternity? Yes? Okay. I believe in eternity. All right. Let's talk about the Hindus' definition of eternity. That which has no beginning, no middle, no end. Okay. Einstein referred to time and space. Optical delusion of consciousness. That's time and space. Right?
Yeah.
Past, present, and future is nothing but a delusion of consciousness. What does that mean? It means that we are looking at something, believing in something, experiencing something that's not real.
Yes.
If it's a delusion of consciousness, it's not real. It's a dream. You see how the Bible talked about the dream? Bhagavad Gita talks about the dream. Buddha talked about detaching from the world and experiencing something else. It's all basically saying the same thing. Shifting your awareness from being deluded to being awakened. It's a different world. How many of us would have a problem saying that everyone is a creation of God? I think we could all accept that.
Yeah.
So who's not your kin in this world? The Buddhist, the Hindu, the Muslim, the atheist? They're all kin. Everyone. Who's not your equal? They're all your equal. So the only thing that differentiates one from another is our core beliefs. Oh, he thinks different than this one. They're different. You think different than me. We're different. But in ultimate reality, we're not. Our thoughts are different. Our beliefs are different as a human being. Go beyond that, there's no difference anymore. So we remember, through awakening, we remember our true spiritual nature. When we do, I can't judge anyone anymore.
Good night.
They're all innocent.
See you next time.
I used to play a game when I was a kid. I don't know why I played this game, but I used to play this game. I'd look at things that happened, and I'd look at people do things to me, and I'd look and I'd say, okay, here's the game I used to play. If I was that person, could I do what they did? And that was how I started off. And I'd look at that and I'd say, okay, let me think about it for a second. If I'm them, I'm not me anymore. Well, if I'm not me, I got to be them all. I got to be them in entirety. That means I got to have their parents. I got to have that moment that they had, not the moment I had. I got to have this. I got to have all of the details of their life rather than the details of my life. You know what I came up
You
with?
thought into that deafness with
When I was a kid, yeah.
some kid?
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah, that's how I grew up. I used to look at that all the time.
I know what you came up with.
What did I come up with?
Nervous breakdown.
Huh?
Nervous breakdown.
No, you know what I came up with? I came up with this.
I was on my way over here to.
I didn't know jack about
Right, about.
what I would do if I were them.
Yeah.
Because it was impossible for me to have all of the variables. So I recognized this. I can't judge them. It's impossible.
You probably do the exact same thing.
I'm sorry?
You do the exact same thing
I
they
would-
did
if
if you
I-
had all those.
Exactly
Yeah.
my point.
Right,
This is
yeah.
what I came to. If I were them rather than me, I would do that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd do that.
Yeah, right.
And if they were me, they wouldn't do that, they would do this, you know? So each is unique, and that's what I recognized. Then I looked at this, because I had a Christian background, mind you, and I said, wait a minute, I was told God's gonna judge me. And I look and I say, well, see, this is the train of thought I was on now, Doug, right? So I'm looking saying, wait a minute, God's gonna judge me? Wait a minute, God gave me my brain, God gave me my parents, God gave me my emotions, God gave me all of these variables. How's God going to judge me? I looked at this and I said, wait a minute. If I did something and I did X, it's because all the variables were put there for me to have. Therefore, I could only do X. Oh, God's not going to judge me either. And then it hit me, wait a minute. There's no judgment. Can't be. It's impossible. Doesn't mean there's not consequences for our experiences, for our choices. There are always consequences. So then I looked and I said, well then what is life? What are we doing here? Well, why are we here? Well, we're here to grow. Grow into what? Grow into my spiritual awareness. Oh, duh. Now I see everything's perfect. All the stuff coming. Isn't all the times I thought I was a victim. Oh, when my fiance slept with my brother, oh, that was perfect.
Wow.
Oh, now, that was great. now I see. It became clear. You know?
Nervous breakdown.
But I think a
So-
lot of people as kids don't accept what they're hearing in Sunday school. And then just, you know, and go
Shut down and give
outside
up.
and
Right.
play.
Give up and shut down.
Huh? Yeah, right. I mean, it's just, and, you know, they're incorrigible. Yeah, right. And you,
Yeah.
and you go
That's what
on
the
your
teacher
way,
says.
and you come back and you hear the same baloney again next week. Yeah, a lot of stuff doesn't make
I
sense
think
to a
when
lot of
you're
little
young, you're like a sponge, you accept it. It's when you're teenagers that we rebel.
Well, I'll tell you what. I stopped accepting what they taught me in catechism when I was about 8 years old.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
When I was about 8 years old, I started asking questions because it didn't make sense to me. And when I asked questions that they didn't have answers to, that's when I said, huh?
You really bugged the priest.
Well, the nun was. I mean, when they told me about the Garden of Eden was the very beginning. When I said, "Wait a minute, what does that mean?" And the nun said to me, "Go talk to the Father." I went to the priest, and I asked him the same thing, and he said to me, and I'll never forget, some things are not meant to be understood.
No.
You gotta take them on faith.
Yep.
Right then and there I said, I'm going to listen to you? You don't know nothing and I'm going to listen to you? No.
Well, that's your linear mind working, sweetie. This guy's got, if he's gonna tell you something, he's gotta bring supporting data,
He's
right?
going to bring me something. Absolutely. Give me something that I can wrap around here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, forget it. You know?
I have to admit though, it was that attitude that made me feel like a ton was relieved from my shoulders the day my son graduated from Bishop Rowe. Because I kept worrying it's never going to make it. Had the principal for his religion class and he had your attitude.
Well, again, now, you know, when I look at it through the non-judgmental mind, you have to see now, you have to recognize the perfection. Every single moment of creation is unfolding in a perfection. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is making perfect choices. But relative to the choices we've made along our journey, because it's not necessarily just this lifetime. What you're experiencing in this lifetime may have its roots in lifetimes past that you're now carrying into this moment. You know, one of the interesting things about the eternal moment of now is that in terms of experience, we can move forward and we can move backward. In terms of the unfoldment of consciousness each of us has available to us, we can open up or we can shut down. Right?
Good question, no? Okay, in the shift in consciousness, there is a shift. Twitch. When you were early in that sentence, I was thinking, okay, you can go forward to a higher level of consciousness, but you can't back up anymore to a lower consciousness.
Well, let me say this: you can choose to shut down. You can go into a fear, okay? And you can resonate with that fear. You can embrace that fear, take it into you, and it can build.
Oh yeah.
And you can go from a more elevated state to a lower state.
Well, I suppose.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, when does that shift? When does it change?
I know. But if I went with my grandson,
Stop judging.
where the heck's he going? Afghanistan. I'll bet you I'd be jerking around.
But you're talking about vibration levels, really.
I'm talking about shifting in vibrational levels. Well, what is creation? What is creation but an array of vibrational levels to experience? This is creation. In my Father's house there are many mansions. Those mansions exist in terms of frequencies. And as we move in frequency, we are going to change and alter our experiences, and it's going to be directly related to whatever we're embracing as what we hang on to. You let go. This is one of the things that Christ was also emphatic about. What you hold in this world will be held in heaven. What you let loose in this world will be let loose in heaven. What he was trying to show in that moment was, you are in charge. Each of us is in charge of self. Right? Larry's in charge of Larry. What you decide is going to be your level of acceptance of love, God, is exactly what you're going to experience. Now, the more you focus on that, now we'll get into the law of attraction. Okay? I state my intention. Because now always is, right now, right here, right now, we can state what we want to attract to ourselves. What do you want to attract? More of the same? Or do you want to grow? Spiritually. You want a spiritual shift? Call for it. Call for it by declaring, this is my treasure. This is my desire. This is my intent. My intent is, I want to be one consciously. Well, I'm already one with God. I want to become one consciously and cognizant of my relationship to God in the whole. Okay, that's a nice treasure. I mean, I can't think of anything greater than that. Some people might want a new boat, but you know.
I can tell you what happened today. Steve, one of our maintenance workers, was going to buy a house, and he found out that his house was going to foreclosure because his soon-to-be ex-wife didn't make payments for 12 months. So I called Zach and said he can't get a house. So I said, we're going to put it out to the universe. We're going to get a buyer. We have to put out a buyer today. Cash.
Cash. Excellent.
So good with them.
We put it out there.
Yeah, we declared it.
What you put out, and now again, the Bible is very, very clear. Put it out there. What you put out there without doubt, because the doubt, you can't doubt. Okay. Now always is. So here we have the now moment. Here's the now. Intention. Intention. Here it is. Whatever it is. I don't care what it is. You put it out there. You put it out there believing it's going to come to you. It's going to come to you because you're going to attract it. But throw some doubt in there, and now what happens is you put it out there and then you just shut the energy off, and you replace that energy with a doubting energy. Or you put it out there and you doubt it a little. I believe a little, I doubt a little. Now what have I got? I got a mixture. I got a mess. And so, depending on other variables, I don't know what's going to come to me now. But this is where the power of belief comes into play that Christ was talking about. Belief is very, very, very strong. We as human beings have ingrained it within here many erroneous beliefs. Many. Except for Doug. No.
Perfectly, you're walking on water.
No, my IL circuitry is bad. Data's in there. IL circuitry is bad.
Anyway, we're almost through a time here, so I'm just gonna jump down a couple of paragraphs. Almost everyone in the world is experiencing conditional or personal love, loving with expectations and possessiveness. Would we agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's a common.
That's pretty common, right? As humans, that's what we
Yeah,
do.
humans.
We have expectations and we have possessiveness. My little baby. Mine. Mine is better than yours. See how pretty? Anyway. Most of us have been conditioned to believe in separation since childhood. This is why the love that you feel for your family and significant people in your life is usually different from what you feel for every other brother and sister in the world. It's natural as humans. Don't feel bad. Everyone does it. You can get over it, but anyway, it is the perceived separation that we feel that creates this conditional love. But if everyone and everything is God, how can there be any separation? There can't be any separation in terms of ultimate reality. At some point, all things become one and the walls of separation come down. Rumi, talking about this kind of separation. I can't remember, I'm going to see if I can remember the exact verbiage, but he's talking about, and this is in a poem, he's talking about, he says, I heard it said that there's a window that opens that we can move through. But if there is no separation, there is no need for a window. So there are two states that we can experience. We can experience the moving into that oneness. Okay? We can see a window, we can see that we're moving closer and into connecting, or you can recognize, wait a minute, there really is no separation to begin with. There's no reason for the window. The tribal belief system has served mankind in many ways along the path of soul's evolution. Many are locked into their primitive tribal beliefs. Americans. There are also those who have the willingness to go so far as to die for them. Oh, what an honor to die for your country.
Sure is.
Oof. Let's go raise a flag and put it on that grave for that honored veteran. There are, however, many souls in this world whose consciousness is elevated to the point where they are ready to move from conditional love to unconditional love. And in this world right now, there are many in this world that are opening and teaching what we're talking about right here, right now.
They are.
We're not alone. Even though there are not too many in this neighborhood, it's okay. There are those in the world that are embracing this, and it's helping. The more that come, the more that embrace this, because we're all interconnected. We all feel the vibrations of each other. If someone came in here and they're really pissed off and had a really shitty day, you don't have to look too hard to see. You can feel the energy that they're throwing out. You know? We do. We feel it. Energy is kind of transferable. I can see Larry's...
Rumi has a poem that talks about searching for the door and realizes that he's already inside.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Windows.
Okay.
There's no other place to go. if you're
You
there.
know, Course in Miracles talks about forgiveness. And it says this: forgiveness is the greatest, let me see, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it basically is saying, forgiveness is the greatest tool that you're going to have that's going to bring you to the awakened state. I paraphrase that.
Forgiveness
right?
is freedom.
Okay, forgiveness is freedom. Because what it's doing, when you forgive another, you're letting go of the energies you're holding on to, right? So you're changing the flow, you're changing the energy, you're opening up, right? Now, at the end of the Course, it basically will say this: in the end, you're going to find out there really was nothing to forgive. Because it was based on a dream, it was based on an illusion, it was based on the unreal. But as long as you hold on to it, squeeze your fist as tight as you can, feel it, hang on to it, and watch how you cut off the flow. You see how all the blood is shut off? You see it's turning white? Let go, oh, and it starts to come back to life. Well, that's what Spirit is doing. The moment you let go, you start opening up and you start feeling. You hang on, you hold on, you resist. You're not going to know love. You're not going to know life. You're not going to know God. You're going to live. I mean, we're all living, but you're not going to live. You're not going to know what love is. You're not going to know what life is. Unless you happen to be Catholic, and then you're going to go right to heaven.
The divine path, baby.
According to the Pope.
I can't wait till he gets there.
When you observe war from the level of unconditional love, you can see how ridiculous it is to think that you are serving God by killing God. Doesn't matter, Christian or Muslim, you're going to kill God in the name of God. Doesn't work. Doesn't make sense. The only way that man can justify war or killing of any kind is through fear-based ego mind, founded in the belief in separation. I remember the beginning of the war in Iraq, and they asked Franks about how many Iraqis were dead. We don't do body counts.
Who said that?
Franks, General Franks.
General Franks.
We don't do body counts. They don't count. But look at night, at the beginning, if an American was killed, we lost one. All front page. I mean, now it's up 4,000. You know, they don't really want to make too much note as to how many of Americans now. But at the very beginning, it was only a few. Oh, it was front page. It was news. We lost an American today. We lost another one today. But 10,000 Iraqis? What? They don't count. I remember when I was in Morocco, someone came up to me. I was talking to this one guy, and he said to me, you know, he said, it's legal